GhastlyGarlic Episode 29. The Cursed Spirits of HKU, Unveiling the University's Darkest Hauntings. Chapter 1, The Lotus Pond's Lament. In the heart of the bustling city, hidden behind the imposing buildings and the ceaseless rush of life, lies a quiet corner of the university. Few students wander there, and even fewer stay past sunset. The Lotus Pond, as serene and picturesque as it might seem during the day, hides a tale of tragedy and whispers that have echoed through the decades. A young man named Felix, new to the university, had always been drawn to stories of the supernatural. He was fascinated by the old legends and ghost stories that seemed to cling to the campus like the persistent mist that often shrouded the grounds. His curiosity led him to the Lotus Pond, a place he had heard about in hushed conversations and late-night whispers. Felix stood by the edge of the pond, the still water reflecting the pale moonlight. He recalled the story of the rich girl who had drowned there, her spirit forever bound to the waters by the lotus roots that had ensnared her. The thought of her waiting for her lover, only to meet a tragic end, sent shivers down his spine. Alas, if you ask the lotus roots how many threads there are, the lotus heart knows for whom it suffers, Felix muttered to himself, repeating the old saying he had heard from a local. He lingered a while longer, hoping for a glimpse of the supernatural, but the night remained quiet. Disappointed yet intrigued, he decided to return the next evening, determined to uncover the truth behind the legend. Chapter 2, The Bridge of Broken Dreams. The next day, Felix's classes dragged on, his mind wandering back to the pond and the ghostly tales that surrounded it. As evening approached, he found himself at the Lulu Poetry Building, another location steeped in eerie history. He stood on the bridge connecting the building to the library, overlooking the bustling Zhongshan steps and Zhongshan Square below. The bridge, now quiet and seemingly deserted, held a dark past. Felix recalled the story of the girl who had jumped to her death due to academic pressures. Her body had landed on the steps, but her head had been caught on the bridge, forever separating her from herself. As he peered over the edge, Felix couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He remembered the tale of the missing head, rumored to appear on the bridge at night. Determined to see if the stories were true, he waited, the night growing colder and more oppressive with each passing minute. "Hey, why doesn't your head come out?" he whispered into the darkness, echoing the taunt from the old legend. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from the corner of his eye, Felix thought he saw a shadow move. He turned quickly, heart pounding, but there was nothing there. He shook his head, blaming his imagination, and hurried back to his dormitory, the eerie feeling lingering long after he left. Chapter 3, The Enigma of the Tang Chi-Ng Building. Felix's fascination with the university's ghost stories only grew stronger. His next destination was the Tang Chi-Ng Building, now the Center for Asian Studies. Its gloomy atmosphere, with tall trees and untrimmed bushes, seemed to breathe a sense of foreboding. As he wandered through the building's deserted corridors, he noticed the sign above the Chinese-style gate on Bonham Road. The Vniversity of Hong Kong, it read, the V standing out like a sinister scar. Felix had heard the story about the school's futile attempts to change the letter, only for it to revert back inexplicably. The building's eerie silence was broken only by the rustling of leaves and the occasional distant murmur. Felix felt as if he was being watched, the weight of unseen eyes pressing down on him. He quickened his pace, his footsteps echoing in the empty halls. As he reached the exit, he glanced back at the sign one last time. To his horror, he saw a shadowy figure standing beneath it, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Felix blinked, and the figure was gone, but the sense of dread remained. Chapter 4, The Ghosts of HKU. Over the following weeks, Felix became obsessed with the ghost stories of the university. He spent countless nights exploring the campus, searching for evidence of the supernatural. Each tale seemed to draw him deeper into a web of mystery and fear. One evening, while poring over old records in the library, Felix stumbled upon a forgotten journal. Its pages were filled with accounts of ghost sightings and strange occurrences on campus, dating back decades. The entries were written by a former student who had also been fascinated by the university's haunted history. Felix read the journal late into the night, the tales of ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena sending chills down his spine. The final entry was particularly disturbing. It spoke of a malevolent spirit that roamed the campus, seeking out those who delved too deeply into the university's dark past. The entry ended with a warning: beware the ghosts of HKU. They do not take kindly to those who seek them out. Once they have you in their sights, there is no escape. Chapter 5: The Haunted Revelation. Determined to uncover the truth, Felix continued his nightly explorations. One evening, he returned to the Lotus Pond, now convinced that the spirits were real. As he stood by the water's edge, he felt a cold breeze brush past him, and the surface of the pond began to ripple. A ghostly figure emerged from the water, her pale face twisted in sorrow. It was the spirit of the rich girl, her eyes filled with longing and despair. Felix watched in horror as she reached out to him, her voice a haunting whisper. "Why didn't he come?" she moaned, her voice echoing through the night. Felix stumbled back, his heart pounding in terror. He turned to run, but the ghostly figure followed him, her sorrowful cries growing louder. He fled through the campus, the ghost always just behind him, until he reached the safety of his dormitory. Chapter 6: The Unending Nightmare. Felix's encounter with the ghost of the Lotus Pond marked the beginning of an unending nightmare. He was haunted by visions and whispers, the spirits of the university refusing to leave him in peace. He saw the headless ghost on the bridge, the shadowy figure at the Tang Chi-Ng Building, and countless other apparitions that filled his nights with terror. Desperate for answers, Felix sought out the help of a local historian, hoping to find a way to appease the spirits. The historian listened to his tale and shook his head sadly. "The ghosts of HKU are not easily placated," he said. "They are bound to the campus by their tragic fates, and they do not take kindly to those who disturb their rest." Felix's heart sank. He realized that he had made a grave mistake by seeking out the ghosts. Now, they would never leave him in peace. The spirits of HKU had marked him as their own, and there was no escape. Chapter 7: The Final Plea. As the weeks turned into months, Felix's life became a living nightmare. He was tormented by the spirits day and night, his health and sanity deteriorating. He tried to leave the university, but the ghosts followed him wherever he went, their whispers growing louder and more insistent. In a final act of desperation, Felix returned to the Lotus Pond. He stood by the water's edge, the moonlight casting an eerie glow over the still surface. "Please," he whispered, his voice breaking, "let me go." The ghost of the rich girl emerged from the water, her sorrowful eyes meeting his. For a moment, there was silence. Then, she spoke, her voice filled with a haunting sadness. "You sought us out," she said. "Now, you must live with the consequences." Felix fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He realized that there was no escape from the spirits of HKU. They would haunt him for the rest of his days, a constant reminder of the price he had paid for his curiosity. As the night grew darker, the ghostly figure faded back into the pond, leaving Felix alone with his despair. He knew that the spirits would never leave him, and that his only escape would be in death. Epilogue: The legend lives on. Years passed, and the story of Felix and the ghosts of HKU became another legend whispered among the students. The Lotus Pond, the Lulu Poetry Building, and the Tang Chi-Ng Building remained haunted by the spirits of the past, their stories blending into the fabric of the university. New students arrived, drawn by the tales of the supernatural, but always warned to respect the ghosts and their tragic fates. The spirits of HKU continued to roam the campus, their whispers a constant reminder of the dark history that lay just beneath the surface. And so, the legend lived on, a chilling tale that haunted the halls of the university, a story without a happy ending, leaving those who heard it with a sense of unease and a desire for more. The end.
Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. If you enjoyed our exploration of ghosts, mythical creatures, and urban legends, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling episodes. Until next time, my beloved listeners.